That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Dog here, doing another movie review. That's right. But before I get started talking about Malignant, I just wanted to bring up that you may have noticed less uploads happening lately, and that's because I'm putting in some extra time on some stuff behind the scenes because I want to make things visually more interesting and cooler and a little more neat. So there's some work going on that I'm doing that'll hopefully make the channel brighter and pop a little bit more and more fun and all that. So it'll probably be like this for maybe another week or two. I don't really know. I haven't made enough progress as I like, but I also took a little vacation for my birthday. Anyways, let's talk about Malignant. (2021), directed by James Wan. Now, this is a fun one to talk about. I'm not going to get into spoilers, which will be difficult because a lot of the wonderful, wonderful twists in this movie are very spoiler heavy, of course. But I will say what I can, I suppose. I have never been the biggest James Wan fan. I've appreciated his work as just a director that I've always thought puts out very solid things, but I've never been excited for anything with his name on it. I'll watch it. I know he's a very competent and solid director, but he's never someone who I've been, wow, this is the guy. He's my best favorite number one. You gotta go see the new James Wan film. Never been a big deal to me, just period. So seeing trailers for Malignant or what screenshots and stills that I had, I was cautiously optimistic. Yeah, things were coming out that were saying it's kind of a giallo.
I wanted to do something that was a bit different, but yet hark back to my roots.
And so I was kind of like, all right, that could be interesting. Someone's take on giallo, Warner Brothers backing it. All right, sure. So Malignant is about a woman who is seeing murders happen, and we sort of see them with her, and things get kicked up a notch constantly. And the killer has bizarre powers like being able to speak through radio speakers and things like that. So there are some bizarre supernatural elements, and not in the way of ghosts necessarily, but in something else. But Wan does some very interesting things here, and I am sorry for any kind of long pauses, but I'm trying to make sure to plan my words carefully because I don't want to ruin this for you. The best way to describe this movie, because I had a couple people reach out and say, well, what is it? So my main description was saying it's a giallo, as if it was made by De Palma, but sprinkled with some Frank Henenlotter. And Mark had said, oh, hot dog, that's so pretentious of you. But that's really the most apt way to describe it. And thankfully, Nasser agreed with me. This exchange occurred on the Kinonomicon. If you haven't watched that, you can watch us every Tuesday on Nasser Rabati's channel. There'll be some links in the description related to some other things, so check that out, of course. But that's really the best way to describe it. There's a lot happening here. I've heard some people say it gives them Dark Castle vibes. That I don't know that I agree with, only because to me, Dark Castle was some of the newer horror remakes, like 13 Ghosts and House on Haunted Hill. That's what I tend to equate them with the most. So I don't necessarily feel that here. I don't know where you'd get that from. I don't know. Some people have also said this feels like Wes Craven's Soul to Take, or My Soul to Take. I remember disliking that one, but the closed captioning also ruined that film for me, and I can't describe why, or else I'll ruin that film for you. Turns out a lot of people really like that movie, so now I really want to revisit it. I also think I hadn't seen a giallo until after that. That's when I kind of went through my Italian phase, so I do want to revisit that. But this movie's such a wild mix, and it's an incredible ride. I've seen people say they were boring. I don't know how you could be, because I was very invested, at least in trying to figure out what's going on. I didn't find this to be predictable, as I'd seen some other people say. I expected this to be predictable because I saw some people complaining about it, and I figured James Wan, he's not going to surprise me, and he really did. There's so many crazy things that happen over the course of this film, with the final third just being buck wild insanity. I don't know how you could dislike this movie. I guess I could come up with a few ways you could. Number one, some of the acting is not so hot. It is very B-movie-esque. What you're getting here is a big budget B-movie. And that's also amazing. This movie has literally everything I love in horror wrapped in a 2-hour package. And I'm not even joking here. This has some crazy body horror. You've got a great killer. And if you guys have seen some of my other videos here where I talk about killers in slasher movies, you guys know my prerequisites are usually cool mask or costume and a good weapon. And this killer meets that criteria while also being very unique, to the point where if there were sequels to this and a whole franchise, I wouldn't be surprised. I think this is a new entry in horror canon of here's a new killer that's pretty cool and rad and crazy. I absolutely loved that aspect of it as well. Also, the killer having weird powers and just being so bizarre and weird movements. So unique and interesting that I'm surprised people could be bored with it. But again, some of the acting is going to push people away. But if you're a follower of this channel and you've watched some of the stuff that I've talked about or recommended, you're no stranger to bad acting. If this had come out in the 80s, early 90s even, this would be a stone cold classic for sure. But it's very strange to see people react this way to this film, and I think the main reason for that is they might be expecting something wholly different, or maybe something cleaner and being closer to its big budget roots. I think what throws a lot of people off about a new movie that's a little goofy is that that's not what we normally get in a big budget movie. But you're going to know if you love this movie based on the first minute of this film. This film opens with a crazy scene and some really rough line delivery that's borderline cheesy. But my eyes opened right up, and you're going to know exactly. It's when a character says something about cutting up the cancer, and my eyes just went, whoa. Because one, cool line. Two, the line's not delivered very well and is kind of cheesy. But I loved it for both of those reasons.
I just busted it in my mouth right now. Yummy.
That's half the stuff I talk about here. Also, the lighting in that scene is rad. The lighting through this movie is awesome. Very Giallo-esque. Some people are saying Suspiria. Other people are saying that this film in its totality is a bit more Tenebrae. I think I agree a little bit more with that. But again, it's very much a pastiche. People are saying it's a ripoff of this, it's a ripoff of that. These are very much homages. I wouldn't call them ripoffs. It's very lovingly done. You've got this crazy premise, so many crazy things happening, all from a big budget studio, and I love this movie. This is probably my favorite horror movie this year. I haven't thought about it too much, but it's at least my top 3 favorite films of the year because it's so nuts and we got to see something so crazy come out of Warner Brothers. It's just wild. What a time we live in. I'm planning to see this again in the theater just so I can say that I saw this in the theater because it blows my mind. This is some borderline next level drive-in-esque type film. I'm probably gushing with too many praises and some of you are rolling your eyes.
Oh my god, he's drinking gin.
I did like this that much. If you're a follower of this channel, if you like some of the things I recommend, or you can at least tell like, oh, hot dog like that, but he's saying why, but I don't really like those type of things, so it's not for me. You know, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you like the things that I like, this is a big recommend. This is a can't miss. This is fantastic. And I'm still in awe. I've been thinking about this movie since I saw it, and I'm in awe every day that this happened. And I'm so glad, from what I've heard, that James Wan got to cash in all of his Warner bucks. He made some huge franchises for Warner Brothers, made them a lot of money. So what I heard was he got to make the film that he wanted to make, and that's how we got this. This is crazy. I don't think it's even necessarily good bad. There are some cheesy things in it, and that's kind of what keeps it from being a 10/10 for me. Yes, the story's ridiculous. The story's goofy, but I think you can still tell something like this with a very serious hand, and it doesn't do that, which I think works, and it works very well to its benefit. It's definitely not a complaint, but that's the kind of thing that throws a lot of people off. Now, it isn't a 10/10 for me, mostly because it does feature some of the things that I don't like that I feel like Wan does on a lot of his films. One, I tend to not like a lot of his ancillary casting. A lot of the secondary characters, things like that, for some reason, they never click with me. They always feel cheesy. They almost feel like they were just taken off the lot of a CW show or something. They just don't do it for me. I like the lead here. I liked a lot of the performances, but for some reason, the secondary characters in almost every James Wan movie always bug me. Two, the soundtrack. Man, it is rough. And I say that just because there's this bizarre mix of like early 2000s nu metal, Thankfully, there's no giallo funk. I know some of you like that weird giallo funk, but I think that ruins the tone of a movie. Fight me in the comments. But some of the soundtracks all over the place. This also uses a Pixies track that is used every time someone is experiencing mental hardships. That too on the nose these days. Now, part of me also thinks maybe that's what James Wan was going for. Do I applaud that? Not necessarily, but if you're just trolling, what the hell? The point is, he got to make the movie he wanted, and it's completely insane. I came out of this wondering, where has this James Wan been my whole life? Because this is the guy I want. If he had been making movies like this his whole career, I would easily say he's one of my favorite directors, at least of the post-2000s. I would, if more of his work was just crazy like this, I'd be watching everything day one. But you know, I'm going to be curious to see what he does after this, because I think the answer is going to probably lie somewhere with doing some of the big budget stuff, you know, in terms of the franchise pictures, and then maybe he'll do another thing like this, or maybe even produce a sequel. This definitely leaves it open for a sequel, which isn't a complaint, because this is something I want and need more of. So, yes, I loved this movie. I highly recommend it. I also didn't know how to mention, but I don't really watch a lot of other people's reviews of movies. I don't want to spoil my content, or, you know, I just want to make sure that the things I feel about something are how I feel. I don't want something in the back of my head and then I regurgitate. I don't know. You know, I just want to keep it all me, all 100 emoji, full custom hot dog. But Nasser, who I do the Kinonomicon with Mark on Tuesdays, Nasser did a video on his channel, an EFAP. And no, that's not electronically masturbating. It's where you watch a video, kind of a react video, and you kind of break it down. But he did an EFAP of a review of somebody else reviewing this film on YouTube. And it was crazy how these guys talked about this movie without really saying anything about this movie. And I don't like to rag on people, but one of the things that blew me away with this dude was like, I watch plenty of weird movies. I've seen Midsummer. I've watched The Lighthouse.
I've seen a lot of crazy movies, like Midsummer, The Lighthouse, all of these crazy movies.
Midsummer, The Lighthouse.
And I'm just thinking, like, if your frame of reference for weird movies only exists in the last couple of years, maybe you just don't have much to say. It kind of comes off that way in the video as well, because everything is just so vague. It's like when you talk to people about movies, right? And somebody goes, I didn't like that movie. And you go, well, what didn't you like about it? Because, you know, we like to make conversation about movies. So I want to know, if you don't like a movie, I want to know why you don't like a movie. Tell me. We'll talk. I like banter. But then when you ask that person, hey, why didn't you like that movie? And they just say, I don't know. I just didn't like it. That's the easiest way to troll me. If you want to ruin my day, that's how you're going to do it. Is you're going to tell me you don't like something, and you'll just say, I don't know. I don't know why I like anything. And I always think that's weird, right? Like, everything I like, I can tell you. If you want to ask me why I like pizza, I'm going to say, oh, man, well, I love marinara and the mix with cheese and the crust. Oh, phenomenal. Magnifique. Mwah, 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 chef's kiss emoji. And so I think it's weird when people tell me they don't like something, or I see people say they don't know why they don't like something. You can not like things all day long, but I think it's really weird when you don't know why, or you don't know, just not knowing how things affect you emotionally or spiritually. It's very, very bizarre. So I found it odd that a whole review on a YouTube channel could get away with that. It was very odd to see 10, 15 minutes of just nothing, of just, it's just this movie's just very weird. It's very strange. So if you see a lot of that going on, maybe ask them why. Why was it strange? What did you think was strange about it? Oh, why did you think that was weird? But anyways, I digress. Enough. I like this movie. Go see it if you haven't. You can either go to the theater, which I'm going to be doing, or you can see it on HBO Max. I caught it on HBO Max with my family, which was a total blast because my parents were just in pure shock. You guys know I love to go over there every week or so and show them some crazy movies. My mom was like, hey, HBO's got a new movie and we got to watch it. And I was like, I'm doing it anyway. Let's do it. And boy, were they in for a treat. I gotta say though, I know I'm rambling now, so you can turn this off if you had enough of the review.
Hey, look, the hot dog highway. Beep beep.
I've turned my mom into a bit of a horror head. You know, back in the day, I would show her Friday the 13th and stuff. My dad a little too squeamish for that stuff, but you know, we'd watch all that stuff, Freddy, and then Hellraiser and stuff. And then now that I got into my collector phase, you know, I would just start giving her stacks. And I've been surprised by some of the stuff she likes, man. She's got some kino taste. You know, she watched Who Could Kill a Child, and it was a movie that I was like, I don't know if I should let her watch this, like if she would like it or not. And then she was just so into it. She loved that movie. And I let her watch Der Fan. Not sure if she would like that one. I thought she was going to hate it. She came out loving those two movies, both released by Mondo Macabro. Highly recommend them, by the way. Not just from Hot Dog, but from Hot Dog's mom. We both love those movies. And I was very surprised. So maybe you guys can watch this movie with your mom and see if she's going to look at you the same way afterwards. But anyways, enough rambling. I'm your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because it's just too long for Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.